I've heard of the name Jean-Claude Van Damme. And I'm like, boy, that is a very masculine sounding name. I'm like, okay, what's a movie with him? Hard Target, Hard to Kill, or whatever. Then I realized you gotta start in one called Bloodsport from 1987. A rocking, socking martial arts saga, says Leonard Clady of the LA Times. Bloodsport takes you where few have ever gone. Inside the hidden Hong Kong area where elite combatants clash in the Kumite, a little known but hotly contested world championship of full contact fighting. No Westerners ever won this titanic tournament until iron-willed American Frank Dukes. Uh, Bloodsport is his story, a true life triumph of bedrock courage, uncanny skill, and steadfast loyalty. As Dukes, D-U-X, Jean-Claude Van Damme also enjoyed a true life triumph. This role kickboxed his career as a box office favorite into overdrive. Van Damme has dallied audiences ever since. Flying heroes simply refuse to lose, and when Van Damme steps onto the mat, Bloodsport isn't just sport, it's a war. Canon, what was that? Canon Films, I think. Anyway, it's 92 minutes, and you know what? I like this because it's straightforward. This is a dang good, straightforward action movie with good choreography and also capitalizing on the martial arts craze that was happening and now still happening in the 1990s, but 1980s. And I'm like, okay, so this movie was released almost 40 gosh darn years ago. And I'm thinking, okay, what type of name is Dukes? And I'm like, okay, so he is a real person, 70 years old. I'll get into him a little bit later. But yeah, I was saying this is a straightforward action movie. It hits some of the conventions. Obviously, you have the person who teaches him. I forgot what the word. It's not a Satoshi. I forgot the word. One who teaches him like the ways of doing. Hey, let's have a training montage. Yeah, that's why they call it a montage. From South Park. Of like those two performing karate. Though, like like Van Damme performing his trademark splits. It's done 7 times, surprisingly. Using with the sword, the karate, and everything else. So it's like, okay. And of course, he's also being chased by his superiors or whatever. I'm like, okay, so what are these people going to do? It's like, they're going to go and contact the people in the Hong Kong area to try and get him, saying, hey, we don't need you injured because you're very important for the military. And it turns out that the real Frank Dukes was. Then again, some of his claims are exaggerated, most likely, which I'm not going to get into, which is like, whatever. But yeah, you're here for the choreography. And I'm like, okay, so obviously, yeah, we're going to have some actual, like, legitimate fighters at Kumite, which means sparring in Japanese, if I'm not mistaken. I'm like, okay, so at least we have some authenticity. And what I noticed is that it brings in the legitimacy of it, and they don't rely on outdated stereotypes. Instead, having an action star get himself brought in just to help get Americans get an understanding of what's going on without having to go through like what you need for each step in order to become like a black belt, written test. You have to perform the stunts and everything. I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty good. It's a straightforward, fun action movie. Of course, it's like they are here where it's like they have the rules of one, make your opponent, make them, say mate, quit, throw them out of the ring. I forgot what the third one was. So yeah, it's him and Donald Gibb, who played Ox, I think, in the Revenge of the Nerds movie. As they make their way through the ranks, as there's this one guy named Chong Li, not Chun Li or Chum Li, but a stereotypical guy who manages to injure Ray Jackson's like, okay, now I'm going to go and get revenge on you. And it's the most straightforward tale that you will see. And I'm like, okay, I like that. And of course you have the two who are trying to convince him to return. to America. And at first, leads them across town in Hong Kong, very specifically Kowloon Walled City. It is like ultimately he manages to lose them, like when they are trying to freaking Super Mario Brothers their way across some boats, and he manages to elude them. And I'm like, we are getting the conventions, all the tropes and everything. I'm like, okay, it's funny, and don't want to say endearing, it's just funny. So yeah, even then, the two superiors like try and team up with the local Hong Kong authority or whatever. It's like saying, hey, you gotta try and help, you gotta try and return. Like, he manages to beat up a couple of the cops or whatever, and they say ultimately rely on like, okay, you better be at the airport at X time. It's like, all right, so yeah. So, in addition, like having all montages and everything, the callbacks to the training, I'm like, okay, that's actually pretty cool. It's like, yeah, the Bastion. We get an actual good showdown. It's almost like a wrestling match. We even get the powder in the eyes and everything. I'm like, well, it's popular at the time. And yeah, I mean, even when Chun-Li pretty much eliminates or krills one of his opponents. They actually turn it like they pray for the deceased soul in front of a Buddhist shrine in Mahayama, if I'm not mistaken. So that was definitely a good way how to introduce the way how it's structured. I'm like, okay, yeah. Ultimately Jackson does survive, which is pretty cool, even though you could tell that he was going to survive. So yeah, and the music is what you would expect. You got the multi-layered production, you got the big bass, you got the drums and everything. And anytime that you hear a person who has a little male with a little bit of a falsetto, like Stan Bush or anyone like that, and this guy named Paul Herzog who does it, anytime you hear the words "Hearts on Fire," then you're getting yourself a delightfully good time. It's both cheesy, motivational, and thematic, and I like that. So yeah, with this movie, you know exactly what you're getting. I mean, the plot is barely there. You're just here to see the action. You're here to see the attractive reporter who's trying to figure out what's going on with the Kumite, and when she gets witnessing the violence and everything, it's like that ultimately is just there. I guess it's like the plot is there. It's not like paper thin as it's a I don't want to say like a precursor to Fight Club, which coincidentally I am watching right now, but I'd say it's its own identity, and exactly what you're getting with a movie called Bloodsport. Just go in expecting some like the tropes being conventional, the humor and everything else. I'm like, you know what? You put it on, you get some good action. Don't you forget like if you've had a lousy day or whatever. Just keep that in mind, and you'll enjoy it.